Hey fishy people, quick video on acclimation. I know most of you guys that are actually watching this and have subscribed know this, but there are people that don't know how to acclimate a fish or why they need to acclimate a fish. So I'm going to cover that real quick. Right now I'm acclimating a one-legged crab that got picked on at the shop that I took home, and some small cichlid fry that I had to pull out of a mother's mouth today. She was getting beat up on, so I'm going to put them in this tank and throw them out. Or, well, I'm going to transfer them to a tank, this tank down here, eventually. But, acclimation. Water chemistry is different between tanks. The pH is different, the ammonia nitrate levels are different, the oxygen content is different, CO2 concentration is different, everything is different. And temperature, that's a big one. All of these things can shock something. Just like if we took you and you were in a 100 degree room and we plunked you into 40 degree water, you'd go into shock. That could actually kill you, a human being. So it can definitely kill a fish, and fish live in water, which means the contact they have with their atmosphere is almost even more dramatic than we have with just gas exchange. But you need to slowly let them adapt to this. If you have a big pH fluctuation, you will burn the gills of the fish and the outer coating of the fish. And just like if you fried your lungs, that's going to kill you, or at least hurt you very badly. Temperature changes, like I just said, you can go into shock, it can kill you. Nitrates, that's a little tougher one because fish need to really be slowly acclimated to different nitrate levels. Some fish can, over a long period of time, get really used to terrible water conditions, and that doesn't mean that you can take fish that aren't used to that and put them in there quickly. Hopefully you have very low nitrates, nitrites, and ammonia, so that's not a problem. But how to properly acclimate a fish. First off, turn your lights off. This is why you're staring at dark tanks. Turn your lights off. It's very easy. It makes the fish that are being acclimated more comfortable. Keep in mind, most people float their fish, which is very close to the lights. They feel vulnerable being up towards the surface under bright light with a bunch of unfamiliar fish and an unfamiliar surrounding. That's not comfortable for them. This also makes the fish in your tank much more docile. They're going to be less aggressive at night. They're not on their guard nearly as much. So when you introduce the fish, they're not going to immediately go after them and attack them right away. Or at least, hopefully. It's not always the case. Turn your lights off. Again, second to that, float the bag. Everyone should know this. Float the bag until the water in the bag is the same temperature as the water in your tank. This could take 5 minutes, this could take 30 minutes, depending upon how much water is in the bag and the temperature difference. Float them a long time if you have the time. But of course, don't, I know some people, and they go, oh, I thought you told me to float them for a long time, so I floated them for 3 hours. No, don't float them for 3 hours. The fish will run out of oxygen, they'll dirty up the water in the little bag, and that's not good. But, 15 to 20 minutes, that's great. After that, open your bag. I'm going to have kind of a problem doing this and holding the camera, so I might not do it. But open the bag. Maybe I can do it with one hand. Take some of the water out. I'm going to take some of this water out of the bag. I'll set you down real quick. And then take the equivalent amount of water. So look, I poured some water out of the bag. Here's some water from the tank. I'm going to pour the water from the tank in the bag. Same amount. Filled up so that there's a little bit of air in there. And let them float again. Ta-da! I put them back. Let them float. The more times you do that, the better. The longer they have to get used to the water chemistry. But between doing that also, it really depends on the fish and how much air you have in the bags, but the longer you let them acclimate to that new amount of water, the better. Sometimes I do 30 minutes, or even up to an hour if there's enough air in the bag, and I'm not worried about the water getting dirty. that I'll let them sit in that new water, and then I'll change out a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, until eventually you have just your tank water in there. That's how you want to acclimate a fish. Some fish need a much longer acclimation, some really don't care so much. A lot of invertebrates, like shrimp, even some really hardy shrimp that are hard to kill once they're established in a tank, need a very long acclimation. They don't do well with water chemistry changes, or at least not rapid ones. Quickly, I'm going to go over another type of acclimation, which is drip acclimation. This is my new shrimp tank, by the way, the one I did the review on the beams work. So you can see it's a very bright light. This is just starting to grow in, but I have plants pearling with no CO2, which is somewhat scaring me, because I feel like I might just have to put some CO2 eventually. But drip acclimation, you need a piece of drip tube, and you need some way to control the flow rate. This could be just a rubber band kinking the drip tube. That's all you really need. I happen to have this weird one because it fits on the side of this tank well and holds it. But say I have some shrimp in here with just a tiny bit of the water that they were in. I always drip acclimate my shrimp. I just sucked on the end of that tube to start a siphon. Boom. It's dripping. That's all you have to do. Super, super simple. This is the best way in most all cases to acclimate a fish to both temperature and pH and nitrite and salinity levels and everything else you can think of, is to slowly drip acclimate them. And just let this go. Just let it go, and you know what I sometimes do is, once I let it get to the top, I pour the water back into the tank and I let it do it again. Because there's nothing really to worry about. The water's being oxygenated enough by the dripping. The temperature is going to be maintained because I'm adding water from the tank. It's really a great way to go. This is how I do all my shrimp. Sorry this wasn't the quickest video, but there it is. Hope you guys' tanks are doing well. Yep, bye. Have a good night.